Good morning. My name is Aliamicha Flore Bianco, and I will be answering Thought Prompt E, Elliot Rogers. I will be reading the questions and giving my answers. Do you feel sorry for Elliot Page? Why or why not? No, because he was full of self-pity, and clearly he had some sort of deep-rooted insecurities that he projected out into the world. He felt he deserved the world because he was a decent guy, yet he probably did the bare minimum. He seems like a narcissist who believes he deserves female attention and female validation, and that women should bow at his feet because he is the perfect gentleman, or the perfect man, as he liked to say. Yet he didn't try to socialize or actually find dates or girlfriends. He would just sit around and wait for women to come to him. And from what I've heard from like other witnesses and stuff like that, he was shy. He didn't talk to anyone. And to some girls, he came off as a creep, which who wouldn't if they're being ogled from across a bar or a party or wherever he would go out to try to meet women. If you don't put he didn't know how to be charismatic, because he wasn't an ugly guy like he assumed women thought. I think he didn't understand how to socialize. He chose and he made the decision to watch them from afar like a creep. Nobody's into that. And because they didn't walk up to him and throw themselves at him the way he wanted, he decided to punish them. He decided to join groups of other angry incels so that he wouldn't feel alone. And what he should have been doing was probably going to therapy and figuring out why he was isolating himself. And he should have also tried to make friends and go on dates, but he didn't. He got angry at the world because he didn't try hard enough. And because of that, I don't feel sorry for him. I pity the fact that he believed he was a good guy. And I will say I kind of get secondhand embarrassment from his obsessive belief that he is perfect and that you don't like him. And that if you don't like him, then you're stupid or have poor taste. It's like, no, sweetheart. Maybe if you actually tried to talk to them and form connections with women, you wouldn't be single or a virgin. He didn't try at all, and that is on him. Now, all he is remembered for is for being a virgin who killed people, which, if you really think about it, was not his goal. His goal was to lose his virginity. And I'm sure the narcissistic side of him would be so angry that the only reason that people remember him is because he was a virgin who decided to kill a bunch of people and then kill himself. And he didn't even successfully kill the people that he wanted. He was targeting like pretty blonde popular girls and jocks as what he identified them as. And the majority of the people that he killed were dorky people who you would think he'd have pity for because they're similar to him, or at least in societal norms are similar to him. But he also believed that those people were dorky and were beneath him, and they were ugly and they were just pathetic because they weren't him. So he didn't have pity for people. He didn't care about people. He just believed that he deserved the world. And because he didn't know how to behave or like how to socialize or any of that, because according to other people as well, from the video that I saw, he would talk to people only when he was drunk, and he would talk to people in aggressive manners, and he would get violent with people because he didn't understand that they weren't rejecting him. He automatically rejected himself for them. He was like, well, they're not gonna like me, so I'm just gonna get drunk and then argue with them about it and fight about it. When in reality, he should have been like, hey, my name is Elliot Rogers. do you guys like want to go hang out? Or, like he could have tried to make friends and make connections, but he didn't. He just chose to push people away and be very aggressive towards people. And I'm sure the only people that care about him are his family. And from what I saw in the interviews, his dad really, he seemed like he was an absentee father, so he probably wasn't emotionally there for his son. And maybe that's why he couldn't understand how to form a proper connection. The next question is, what do you think went wrong with Elliot psychologically? How do you think he really felt about himself? I think he had a lot of self-loathing because he couldn't get female attention. I think he tried to mask it as a superiority complex. I'm having a hard time pronouncing that. But basically, he thought he was superior to everyone and he was better than everyone. He did that to pretend that he was better than women, because since he couldn't get their attention, then he must be better than them. And overall, he thought he was better than everyone. He said it himself. He would be like, oh, I'm the perfect man, and if you don't like me, then you're a slut and a loser, and you're stupid, and you're this and you're that. He would resort to name calling to make himself feel better. He hid behind an ego, which was very obvious, because the entire time you see him talk to the camera, he sounds like he's acting. He sounds like he's faking it. I even showed a clip of him talking to my sister, and she thought he was an actor. She didn't think he was a real person, because he doesn't sound like a real person. The way he's talking, the way he moves, he sounds like he's playing a character, like he's playing a fictional person that isn't real. And I think he was doing that to overcompensate, or to compensate for a sad little boy who wanted female attention and validation. Or truly, he was self-obsessed and believed he was, for lack of a better word, hot shit. So he felt that since he was so amazing and he deserved attention because his existence was perfect, so everyone had to love him and listen to him, and probably a narcissist, very classic narcissist. If you don't love me, then clearly something's wrong with you, because I'm perfect. He fell into violent impulses to justify, in his mind, at least, he thought that being violent would justify being rejected. He was like, well, I'm going to kill you because you said you weren't attracted to me. That's how he justified it. He believed that was right. He believed that because every girl rejected his advances, that he deserved and he should go on a killing spree because he earned it. I need to kill people because they don't love me, so I have to. Instead of trying to find his own group of people, he was trying to push himself onto people that probably weren't attracted to him because he wasn't their type. Everyone has a type. From what I heard from the video of himself speaking, he often talked about blonde, beautiful women. So he was attracted to blonde girls who were probably classic, like cheerleaders, if we're going by his stereotype, which if we are, then they most likely were cheerleaders in his mind, at least. And he was mad that they didn't like him because he was shy and quiet, when sometimes people don't like shy people. But I dare to bet that at least in high school, or like his freshman year of high school, or even middle school, or even college, that there was someone out there, a girl or guy or both, that found him attractive, that had a crush on him, because he wasn't ugly. He was weird and creepy. Like, there's good weird and then there's bad weird. He was the bad weird. He was I should stay away from this person because they'll probably try to kill me in my sleep, And he probably scared women. He intimidated them because they didn't feel safe around him, because he didn't give them a reason to feel safe. He just made them feel creeped out, because it's like, who's this guy staring at me? He's been staring at me for the last 5 minutes without blinking, The next question is, what were some of the external environmental factors that caused Elliot to become what he became? What do you think the biggest factor is, and why? I would guess it's that the environmental factor would be how he believed that he was being rejected by the world. Because in his perspective, he was all alone, and he felt isolated, and he didn't understand why he was being isolated, because he just wanted love. from what I can see, he was shy and he isolated himself. So I guess that could be an environmental factor for him because he believes that he's being isolated by the world. But if you really look at it and you really analyze it, he's isolating himself, so it's more of a psychological factor. I think, I don't know because he never specified an age, that he got exposed to pornography at a youngish age, a very impressionable age at least. So that negatively impacted him. He started to look at sex as, maybe, first of all, if he ever watched porn besides that one time, then he probably had high expectations of sex, and that's why he wanted it so much. And which doesn't make any sense, because at some points in his video, he says that sex and all these sexual things that people do is disgusting. And, well, I guess you could argue that he's saying it's disgusting because they're not doing it with him. Other environmental factors were that he couldn't handle seeing other people in relationships because he couldn't get one himself. But overall, from what I can see, not a lot of bad things happened to him. Maybe the stress of moving to a new place, and then a year later his parents getting a divorce. He was 6 and 7 when that happened. 6 when he moved, 7 when his parents got divorced. And that could have very likely impacted him negatively. And also maybe possibly his parents didn't show him how to form proper connections, maybe because they were always working, and so they didn't have time to form proper connections themselves with their child. Because if they did, then they would understand that their child felt alone. They were neglectful parents. They weren't the best parents because they were busy with their careers and their own emotional lives, that they gave him all he wanted financially. They were like, here you go, you want a new book? Here's a new book. You want your own place? You want to live by yourself? Here, I'll get you a place. You want a new car? I'll get you a car. So they weren't there emotionally, and they should have been. And from what I can see, or at least from what I heard and from what I gathered from the video, he was an only sibling. So he didn't have anyone to connect with. So he was by himself all the time. And so he never learned how to socialize, because for the most part, you learn how to socialize through your parents and your siblings, your immediate family, and then eventually you slowly learn how to socialize with people outside of your family. So because of that, he became isolated. He didn't understand how to communicate with others. From what I saw, he spent a lot of time online, way too much time online. So he was even more alone. He couldn't understand that he needed to socialize with others. Not angry people online, but seeing and socializing with people his own age, in person, and making friends. And, socializing like a normal person, like going out to parties and activities, because that's what he wanted. That's what he craved so bad. But he didn't know how to. And since he didn't know how to, he chose and decided that the world doesn't want me, so I don't want it. He had high expectations of relationships and sex and people, and he believed that he deserved everything. But the reality is that life isn't fair, and he couldn't handle that life wasn't fair. He couldn't handle that he couldn't get in a relationship with the perfect blonde girl because she wanted to date the stupid jocks, and she was a slut anyway. So what he talks about is very contradictory. He's like, she's a slut and she's stupid. Meanwhile, he's like, but I want that validation and I need that validation. The next question is, does society have some blame in creating Elliot? Why or why not? How so if you say yes? I wouldn't say so, because he didn't try to be a part of society. And if he did, maybe he got rejected by 1 or 2 girls, or just overall rejected by people. Maybe he tried to be friends with a certain crowd, and they were like, I'm not interested in the same things you are, so that didn't work out, so he got rejected. And he couldn't handle the rejection, and it's not society's fault that he didn't want to look at himself and see what was repelling women away. He didn't care about women or people. He just wanted to get laid and find himself a hot girlfriend, because that's what he talks about. He's like, oh, I want to get myself a hottie. Look at that hottie over there. Look at look at that hottie or that slut with this dumb jock and this grotesque man. Like, he constantly talked about how he wanted a hot girlfriend. And I'm sure, like I said before, that there was someone out there that found him attractive. But he wasn't looking for that. He wanted someone that he found attractive. So it's not that no girl didn't find him attractive. He stuck to one specific group of girls. He's like, I want the popular girls that have already a type. They like jocks. They like outgoing people that are loud and obnoxious and stupid, according to him. Just because someone's a jock or outgoing doesn't mean that they're stupid. But in his opinion, they were. And he liked women that he couldn't have because those women were attracted to what he deemed as stupid men. So instead of looking for women that liked him, women that liked smart, shy men, because there are women that don't like outgoing people because they're shy themselves, so they like being in small groups and don't like loud places. He didn't look for that. He wasn't into ugly because he thought he was perfect. Like I said before, if he spoke to women, no, I didn't say this. If he spoke to women the way he did in his videos, he wasn't going to get anywhere with anyone, because the way he behaved and the way he talked was very creepy, very weird. I was watching it. I was getting secondhand embarrassment. I was getting uncomfortable. I was like, this guy seems like the type of guy that had he chosen to live instead of killing himself and instead of killing a bunch of people, he probably would have either learned how to socialize properly, or he would have been one of those people that drug women to sleep with them. Or he would have, like he did, murdered people. And in the videos and the way he talks, that's the kind of guy, the vibe that he gives. He's like, well, if I can't have them, then no one can. I'm going to kill as many as I can, because since you guys don't want me, I'm going to teach you that you have to like men like me. And that's not how it works. Women nowadays are very independent. And he repelled women away with his negative energy and his negative attitude towards the world. He didn't have charisma. And if he did not know how to use it at all. And to get laid and to get a girlfriend, you have to know how to use your charisma, and you have to know how to carry yourself. And he didn't know how to carry himself. It almost seems to me like he didn't know who he was. It's like, I want to be this jock. I want to be this popular guy, but I'm shy, so I don't understand how to do that. But I want this, but I can't have it because I don't know how to do that. So he created this alter ego, and he filmed all these videos, and he plotted, and he killed a bunch of people, and then he killed himself. And to answer the last question, do you feel bad for incels in general, those who do not cause harm to others? Why or why not? Do you think incel issues is a growing problem, or is it just something that has been going on for a long time and it's just now getting more attention? What can we do as a society to help the situation? For the first question, I don't think so. I don't really feel bad for them, because I'm going to be very honest. If you didn't want to be a virgin, there's many, many ways you can do it. Most incels, or at least from what I can gather from one person, and from apparently the groups online that they have, they're not trying to form a relationship. They're not trying to find connections or friendships or sexual partners. They just want things to fall on their lap. They don't want to try. They want others to try. Part of life is rejection. And if you are going to let the few no's turn you into a hermit, that is no one's fault. So you can't expect everyone to be physically or sexually attracted to you. That's not how it works. Everyone has their own preferences and types, and you can't expect people to change what they like because you like them. I think it has been going on for a long time. The only reason we hear more about it now is because we have more access to the internet, and also because of people similar to Elliot Page. Obviously, Elliot Rogers. Elliot Page is a celebrity. Sorry. Similar to Elliot Rogers. Elliot Rogers is, I'm not saying that every incel is a killer, but it's clear that there are a lot of incels that are angry at the world because the world just, they're like, well, women are rejecting me and I want sex and I want it now. And it's like, that's not how it works. You need to build a relationship. You need to try and seek relationships and friendships and connections, and then eventually you can have sex with someone, with a partner, and you can eventually form an actual relationship that'll have sex. Because clearly a lot of incels, that's their goal. Their goal is sex. It's not relationships and connections. It's getting laid. And if that's your ultimate goal, there are many ways to do it. There are people that are willing to have sex with anyone for money, or just because they want to have sex. There are people that are very sexually active people. So there's many ways to get laid if you want to get laid. I guess a way that I would say we can try to help the issue as a society is try and seek help for incels, but because clearly they are having a hard time forming, understanding, and keeping relationships and connections with others. I would also say maybe try and figure out why they may be having a hard time finding people to form connections with. Like, what are their expectations of relationships? How do they feel about them? Do they have high standards because of porn or books or movies? And then try and make them understand that relationships are more complex and that you have to put in the work. That at some point, but also at some point, we need to step back and let them figure out the rest of it, because every relationship is unique to each person. Every connection you make, it's unique to yourself. We can't just be like, hey, you and you guys can be together. You both are incels. You guys would have a lot in common. It looks like you both want to have sex. Boom, problem solved. No, because one incel is going to want to have certain criteria. They're like, I'm physically attracted to this, and this. I don't like this person because they don't meet my standards. So it's really hard to really sit down and be like, hey, if you want to get laid, you're going to have to lower your standards. And there's only so much you can do, and so much you can do to try and help someone when they don't really want the help. All they want is to get laid. And because all they want is to get laid, they're not going to really listen to what you're saying. You're going to be like, hey, maybe you should try doing this, and this, lowering your standards, trying to go out on dates and figure out what you like and what you find attractive. And they'll be like, no, I just want to get laid. So sometimes it's a little complex to form relationships when you're not listening or trying hard to form relationships. You can't get sex without relationships, especially if you have very high standards. If you have very high standards and you want a specific kind of person to be with, you have to form a relationship. You have to form connections or it won't work. Thank you for listening, and goodbye.